Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. I'm here with Toffee Dan and Jeff. It's nice to have you both here. How's everyone doing?
Not too bad, thanks. Not too bad. You?
Yeah. Is everyone excited for the return of Premier League football and particularly Everton game at Southampton, which we're going to have a little chat about as the team news comes out? We've seen a few reports in the last couple of days about Calvert-Lewin, and obviously there was no sign of Gordon or Calvert-Lewin in the training video. Do we think this will have an impact on the team selection? What are your thoughts, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it will. I mean, not Dominic Calvert-Lewin because I don't think anyone's counted on him. So if he turns up, he turns up. Fine, whatever. We've lived without him so far this season, so I'm not really that worried about him. Gordon missing is a little bit more of a concern if he's not actually available today. That will be a worry because obviously he brings the energy and he scored a couple of goals recently. So, it's not like we're a team flush with goals. So, any important players missing. However, we have got other options. We've got cover. We've got other players that can come in and do a job. So it's not the end of the world, but yeah, it will be annoying if Gordon's not fit.
Toffee Dan, what do you think we will make in terms of changes if Gordon isn't available? Do you think Iwobi moves forward and we bolster the midfield, or do you think we just make a like for like swap with Dwight McNeil? Have you got another idea?
Garner? Are we really expecting Anthony Gordon to not play because he was out with the England under-21s midweek? Is that the perception that he's not expected to play today?
No, it's basically just rumours. Because the training video came out yesterday, and everyone was in it, but right. Gordon wasn't. Now he did play in the under-21s, and he was fine, and he walked off. There's no injuries or anything like that. So it may just have been.
Had the day off.
Had the day off. That it may be as simple as that, but we'll soon find out.
That training video was probably done on Thursday or possibly even Wednesday, so he could have been that he was just given a day off, as you say, before the match.
Well, my perception is that, for example, if Pickford is fit and he's back training,
he's available.
He's likely to play. My perception is that Coleman will probably come in at right back unless they've got some better idea that involves three at the back or someone I haven't thought of. I have no reason to believe he won't play Alex, Onani, Garner, and Gray.
Yeah,
and Gordon and Mopey up, further forward.
Mopey. Yeah.
The thing is, we've got a bigger squad, but the depth isn't that great once you factor in the injuries. But it's still obviously a squad built in Lampard's
image,
if that's the right word. Because if you think about how few players remain from Rafa's choice lineup, I mean, or even from before Rafa, shall we say? I mean, effectively, you're looking at Iwobi and Pickford. Coleman's obviously a bit of a yesterday's man, there's a couple. There are a couple that were signed by Benitez, obviously. Gray, Davis is still around, but almost all of the last season team, thankfully, is gone. And I mean,
there's talk
Everton on the road, but if we get a few draws and we stay mid-table, I'm okay with that. It's some sort of progress on where we were last year, but we need to find a way to win games. We need to find a way to score that second goal. We need to find. I'm not sure we're good enough. It's all about the first goal for most of the Premier League. The ones that aren't battling the top 6 or 7. if we get that first goal and Southampton are in a bit of a pickle at the moment, then maybe we can get at least a draw today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but notoriously we have suffered a lot away from home, and you've got to think, oh, this is a totally new squad, as you say. So hopefully we'll start to put that back on track, especially with the defense and the way we've been performing away from home, defensively sound. We just got to, keep it tight, try and get that first goal, and try and nick that second goal.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think the one thing that like, because I mean, obviously, I was corrected yesterday by Mabsy. We've won 1 out of the last 7 away at Southampton, so we have had 1 win, but it's basically it's not generally a happy hunting ground. We've lost the last 2, and it has been a struggle of a ground for us, but they're not an amazing side. They're not, they're not particularly in great form. They've lost the last 2. They're not scoring a lot of goals. Their defense is a bit shaky because they've lost a few players. So it's a game we should be targeting, getting something out of it. If we can score first goal, I think it's a game we can win. And it's the midfield. The midfield to me is the difference. When you look at the team that we had last year when we went to Southampton and we got beat 2-0, we folded like wet cardboard. Yeah, we started off quite well in that game, but as soon as they started taking control of the ball and started moving it about, we were clueless. We were lost. And once they scored the first goal, we all knew it was over. It was done.
We were denied a penalty for a handball. We were denied a penalty for a foul, and then the next 75 minutes were just horrible.
Yeah, they were just horrible. But I think this team's made it tougher stuff. I think we're going to be a much harder team to play against. We're not going to be letting them have the ball and wander around and pass it around like last year. So I think they're going to struggle too. And like I said, I just think it's the first goal is so vital. If we can get an early goal, they're going to struggle to come back because their crowd will get on them as well. They're not the best crowd in the world.
If you look back at their recent results, obviously they've lost the last 2. Aston Villa beat them. They're not exactly in good form, Aston Villa either. And Wolves, who are down the bottom there, they beat them both by 1-0. So there's a blueprint there to beat them 1-0. They did beat Chelsea at home before that, but I was looking at the stats. They had about 30% possession, so they obviously played a different game plan with an extra midfielder. They played 3 in the midfield, so it's interesting to see. But the last couple of games, they've obviously been tried to go toe-to-toe. They've had about 50% possession, and they've lost the game 1-0.
There's my 3-1. There's my 3-1 prediction on Arsenal. But
is it 3-1? Is it?
And a red card for Spurs. But
nice.
But Southampton, I mean, they've got a couple of nice players, but to beat Wolves, they lost to Wolves. That is a very poor result. Wolves are a seriously poor team at the moment. And Chelsea, they caught Chelsea on a good day because, well, Tuchel's wasn't really all that good. I mean, he's had a couple of opportunities 3 opportunities with exceptionally good sides, Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea. And he's not looked anything more than average. He didn't do that well at Chelsea. He didn't do that well at Paris Saint-Germain. And I wasn't at all surprised that they sacked him. With the talent base that Chelsea have got. So for Southampton to get a result against a struggling side, to lose against a struggling side, I mean, hopefully we're not struggling at the moment, that we don't fall into the trap of playing as badly as Chelsea.
Yeah.
No, take a draw.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where to continue it might not seem much, but 6-7 games unbeaten is nothing to be sniffed at. That's every game you don't lose, it's another point on the board. You only need 1 goal to win a game if you can keep a clean sheet. So, You know, I think we're obviously going to, we're going to be trying to keep it tight and, play on the counter or, try and nick a goal. However we do it, I don't know. But yeah, I think we've got to start well. I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think especially off the back of an international break, you just don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes, well, a lot of the time, I've seen Everton going off on an international break with a win and come back out looking like they've not played together. So it's getting some continuity from that last game for a start and seeing where we can build.
Interesting news as well coming through this morning. Solomon Rondon lined up for a move to UAE side Sharaj FC, which is obviously similar to what they did with Alan. And it to me that's great because we're sweeping the decks, aren't we, of all of the overpaid, underperforming, wasters and useless players that did nothing. And we're kind of rebuilding from a much stronger foundation, I think. So yeah, that's good positive news for me as well.
I want to just say something about Solomon Rondon because he gets a bit of a free pass from me, and not because he's a terribly good player or anything like that. We know he's not great, and the circumstances that surrounded his arrival with another injury or the first of many injuries for Calvert-Lewin, and the lack of funds at the time that we had, are somewhat unfortunate. I mean, it wasn't a great choice, and he wasn't setting the world alight in China under Benitez. So it's a very strange relationship. But what I want to say about Solomon Rondon, firstly, currently he's bereaving the loss of his father. So
I didn't know about that.
Been affecting him in recent times. And secondly, I'm not slow to forget his attitude on the pitch as a West Bromwich player when he screamed for the trainer to come on at Goodison when McCarthy broke his leg. And I give him a free pass for that. So I wish him all the best if he moves on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at quite a few of these players who have left, then they're nice people. You know, Alan has always been a really nice lad. Rondon, really nice lad. Gomez, again, he's another one. You know, really nice lad.
Wow.
But it's a football club, not.
You need nasty people.
Yeah, that's the thing is, being nice isn't much use. Being nice nearly got us relegated.
I have to agree completely with you. You know, I used to say that the entire Liverpool team were as ugly as hell, and maybe it had something to do with their level of success. That they always had nasty bastards like Tommy Smith and the like.
Yeah,
you know,
which is why, like I say, it just appeals to me that we've got some snides in the team now. Some players who.
We're not snide. We've never been snide. Too bloody nice.
Matty's saying that he's not a fan of Rondon, but we can't have just two strikers. I kind of agree with him here, especially with Calvert-Lewin being made of glass. If we count Calvert-Lewin out and we take Rondon out, we're just left with Mopey. So I'd be a bit wary about doing it, but you know why they're doing it, to try and raise some funds for January. But
yeah, and I think it's. Let's be brutally honest here. I would literally rather start Michael Keane up front than Rondon because I think he'd actually do more because he's a big, powerful lad in the air and his shooting drills in training. He was banging them in from all over the place. I would genuinely rather start Michael Keane up front than Solomon Rondon because running around like an asthmatic and trying hard is not a footballer that we should be paying money for.
If we've only got Mopey, and maybe Calvert-Lewin, then we have to think about Calvert-Lewin's future. I mean, I think Rondon is the past. So if Rondon's the past, you haven't got to be worrying about him. You got to be thinking about the dozen or so games we've got till the January window. The fact that most of our opponents post World Cup have had far more players at the World Cup than us, so we will be fresher after the December break. We've got the team, and
have we got the team?
where are we going? Where are we going if Calvert-Lewin is or isn't part of this side? That's the main question.
I think we're gonna buy another striker in January.
So we've got McNeil in the starting lineup.
Yeah, Gordon is not in the squad. Yeah. That is the news. Gordon does not make
confirmed. Yeah,
Gordon for McNeil. McNeil for Gordon. That's a pity. Right, that's a shame. What about the bench? Do we have that?
The bench is Begovic. According to Matty, the bench is Begovic, Keane, Gordon, Decore, Davies, Vinagre, Rondon, Garner, and Kyle John.
So Gordon's on the bench.
Yeah.
So Gordon's on the bench. So must have picked up a bit of a knock.
Maybe he's just.
What's that bench? I mean, how many changes? How many reasonable changes have we got on that bench? I suppose Decore, but he doesn't add much in a positive sense. I mean, he's more defensive. Gordon, Davis will be a holding player.
James Garner, somebody who can come on and do something.
Garner and Gordon.
I think, Gordon. Yeah,
that's a point.
Maybe Rondon, but
yeah, probably not. But that's the point I want to touch on. Has Lampard really got his head around the substitution rules? In so much as we're allowed, is it 5 substitutions in three windows plus the halftime break?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I get the feeling that we're wasting our opportunities because you've only got 3 windows if you're not going to use the halftime break. And then when you bring one on for an injury and one on for an injury, you're only left with one more window. And so effectively, you need to really... And then, of course, if you get an injury after you've brought 2 more subs on, you can't use the 5th sub, can you? It can get quite complicated.
Yeah, it can get quite complicated. I just think that... realistically, the quality of the squad isn't good enough to be making that many changes.
I agree, but you need to have a plan that goes something like, forget the halftime change at halftime. Hopefully, we're not struggling in the game, so we don't need a halftime change. But let's talk about you need 2 on the hour, you need 2 on 75, and you need to keep something back for an injury. Because if you've used your 3 windows, you've got you're going to have somebody limping or leaving the pitch, and you won't be able to replace them. So I think you need to think strongly about. Okay, actually, what you could do is 2 and 1, and then if you need to change it up a final time, you've got to wait for an injury and make 2 changes at that point. But you need to be very careful about how you use those windows. And I've seen Everton have early injuries, such as they had one to Godfrey, and then they made a change on the hour. And I'm looking at this going, well, you've only got 1 more window to change, and you've got up to 3 substitutions. You could end up with 10 people on the pitch because you've not used your change points smartly. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but I think there'll come a point where we'll get an 85th minute injury, we won't be able to bring a sub on.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah. But it's one of those where it's probably going to be a rare thing, isn't it? So
but it's not. But the team today, it doesn't impress me physically. I think Coleman is slow, obviously. I think the loss of Gordon will inhibit us going forward. So I don't think we're not going to be as expansive as we would have hoped. I think there's a lot. It's quite a defensive looking lineup now. Now that we've lost.
And I do wonder if the Gordon sub isn't necessary. I mean, it might be because he's not fully fit or something like that. But I do wonder if it's actually just because of Seamus Coleman. Because the thing is that if Seamus Coleman can't get down the pitch if he hasn't got that fitness level, Dwight McNeil. Dwight McNeil is much more likely to protect. Yeah, exactly, Matty. Yeah, he's much more likely to be able to protect on that side of the pitch.
On a counter argument to that, I've seen McNeil come on as a sub for 10-15 minutes, and not put the effort in to chase back and protect the fullback. He is a good defensive winger, but he's not quick, and nor is Coleman. So having them both on the same side, it's quite a slow side, isn't it? Going forward.
So your argument, Jeff's argument, is that we've brought McNeil in because of the absence of Patterson. We think that with Patterson in
basically
the side,
with
Patterson in the side, we had a bit more pace than we've now got with Coleman. So
yeah,
but you see, the trouble with my perception is that Damari Gray isn't a 90-minute footballer. My perception is he fades after 50, 60, 65 minutes. I mean, you get a good 65 out of him, but I don't see much of his involvement in the late on. Of course, I can make a fool of myself and remember he scored a great winner against Arsenal. But I mean, his general involvement in the game, in the last quarter of the game, is quite limited. It's quite low.
Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, if you get 70 minutes of
I mean, there has to be a sense of realism to Everton at the minute. Is that we are doing a rebuild. We are doing a rebuild, and that rebuild is top to bottom. I mean, it really is. If you look at the work we've done in just one window, you know, you're talking about 10, 12 players out the door, 7 or 8 in the door, but it's not complete. And so we're not going to be the finished article. We're just not, because it's going to take 2 or 3 more windows before we can sit here and say, oh, we've got a good first team and we've got a good bench. We've got options, you know. So I still think it's a bit mix and match, and I still think we're still kind of we're a work in progress. We're not the finished article. So I just think, you know, that's what I say. I think we're going to be a side that's very early Moyes, which is going to be built on hard work, tough defending, and trying to nick a goal and pick up enough points to be a nice, safe mid-table. And see, you know, we're not going to be cutting teams apart with our attacking play. We're not going to be, you know, destroying teams. We're just going to be picking up points, I think.
Here's an interesting point. Southampton are fielding 5 players with double-barreled names.
Oh, nice.
They're fielding Bella Kotchap, Coletta Carr, Maitland-Niles, Walker-Peters and Ward-Prowse.
Yeah.
And Walcott's on the bench.
Yeah, Walcott's on the bench as well, yeah.
I think they've dropped Salisu to the bench. I think he's a massive liability. I watched him make a few mistakes. I can see why he's not starting.
Yeah.
Pretty.
And again, because of the way they play, they're a team that's quite good out wide. And again, that might be why McNeil's in, is to stop Walker Peters. Yeah, Walker Peters as well, particularly on that left hand side for them. You know, I think that Coleman might be vulnerable to that pace getting skinned. So, like I say, I think we're just going to try and play a tight, compact, sort of squeeze the play kind of game, and, you know, like I say, try and nick something. I think it's going to be a really boring game. You know, I do.
I know.
It's not going to be good fun.
Is there a question mark around Gordon whether he's performing in matches and in training? Because the last few games, the Liverpool game, the West Ham game, he wasn't really at his full potential. And I think in the England game that I saw, the first half, the under-21s the other night, he didn't do a lot. And when the ball came to me, he tended to lose it or pass it back. So I just don't know whether he's performed. He did, but one of them was a scuff cross that got hit the thing. And I know what you're saying, but he didn't really look. He doesn't look like he's sharp and like he's in the game. And do you know what I mean? His concentration.
Possibly that's why he's not playing.
It's possible, but you think McNeil's not really up to it either. So, but maybe he's giving him a chance. So,
yeah. Like I said, it's one of those where I still think we're a bit of a mix and match side that lacks. I mean, let's be honest. we probably still need 2 or 3 quality attacking players that, the bench up front in forward areas is weak. We look good defensively now. We look good in the midfield. The forward area is our problem. So, like I say, I just think that we're not a good. We're still not a good side. We've got to be honest with ourselves. We're not a great side. We're not going to be scoring 3-4 goals a game. We're not going to be tearing teams a new one with our outstanding attacking play. I think we're just a functional side that's going to not lose many games, pick up the odd wins here and there, and then we're going to bring in a few more players in hopefully in January. And then again in the summer we'll go again with a couple more players. But we're in a transition. We're literally rebuilding, and we've literally dismantled the majority of the team that started the season last year for us. So yeah, I just think we're just gonna have to get over it and be patient, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I think we've got to work with what we have at the moment, haven't we?
Yeah.
Eventually, we need some more depth up front. We know that because he's got 5 subs, and I think he's reluctant to kind of use it. He seems reluctant to bring anyone on before the final 7-8 minutes. I think he doesn't think the quality's really up to the level of what's on the pitch.
That's
You'd
the reality,
argue maybe,
isn't it?
but maybe in midfield, you've got Garner, you've got Takura, you've got quality on the bench, but it's still not quite as good as what's already on the pitch, and there's still a reluctance to use them.
Exactly, and I think the only question I would have realistically is, are some of the kids not good enough to be able to be on the bench and get 20 minutes? Are they not ready yet? We've got a couple of kids there who, if we're putting 9 subs out, surely someone like a Tom Cannon could be on the bench and get 10 or 15 minutes at the end of a game until DCL's fit, obviously.
The Premier League is
it's tough, I know. Yeah,
it's a tough ask for 17 and 18-year-old kids. I mean, Arsenal brought that kid on, but obviously they'd already won the game, hadn't they?
Yeah. So that's the only thing I would question. But excellent. So predictions then. Let's go for a little predictions before we scoot this off and go and try and find the stream.
My honest prediction is a 2-2 draw, but I'm not sure we can find 4 goals in this game now. But and I also had a little inkling for a 3-2 win, but I'm not sure there'll be 4 goals. Maybe I'll downscale it to a 1-1 draw.
A 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
Go on, Baz.
Well, I'm looking at the Southampton lineup, and I have to be honest, I don't know who Mara, RBO, Lopez, Carr, Kotchap. They've changed the whole team, but
they've basically done an us. They've literally ditched a whole load of players and brought in 10 players.
Based on where they will have been the last few weeks and where we are now after the international break, I'm going to say it's a 0-0 draw, but I really hope we're going to win the game 1-0.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll be Mr. Positive then. I'm gonna go for a 1-0. Based on that starting lineup, like a clean sheet and just a goal from somewhere. That's basically our only shot, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna pray for a scruffy 1-0 win, please.
My surprise score for the weekend is Palace to beat Chelsea. There you go.
Palace to beat Chelsea.
Well,
yeah. I mean, Palace they're another side that's like they're quite good on their day when they get in the mood. They're a tough team to play. But I mean, to be honest,
might struggle today.
Yes, please. Are they playing Liverpool?
Liverpool might struggle today.
They're playing
got a
Brighton.
new manager at Brighton.
Oh yeah, right, got you. Yeah.
My confident prediction is West Ham to beat Wolves. Wolves are rubbish.
To be fair, like West Ham haven't exactly been great either, have they? So, but
Oh,
they need it. They were like us last week. They really need a win, don't they? So yeah,
Oh,
I'll take it.
Jeff, I'm looking at the table. I'd say about 10 of the teams I'm looking at, you'd say are good on their day, but very often don't really play that well. And then there's about 3 or 4 that are going to be really good every week.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple you think they're not really doing much anytime. But
what
I'm
category
annoyed
do we fit in?
On the Arsenal score, though.
Right. It's 3-1 at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And they've had a red card.
At least he makes the Premier League competitive for a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We will. I'm going to have lunch and try and find a stream, as you say, and then I think we're going to reconvene. I don't know who's joining later. I think Jeff, you're coming back on, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Perhaps Ian will be around.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, okay.
I think,
so we'll schedule after about 5 o'clock-ish.
Yeah, okay. I think Ryan set it up, so I'll see you after.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me.
Nice one. Up the fucking toffees.
Have a good afternoon. Let's hope we get a good score.
Up the toffees.
Yeah, nice absolutely.
One.